This is a really great opportunity. We're taking this opportunity to introduce to the community new Alexander Central football coach Butch Carter. I feel like, and I'm sure the community feels like, Coach, they know you because you coached over at South Caldwell, and we've had a lot of really interesting close games between the Cougars and the Spartans. It's not a long drive from here to there, and I've always felt like the two high schools are so similar. You've been here at Alexander Central just a little more than a week. Tell us how it's going so far.
Well, Rick, to start off, I feel extremely blessed with this opportunity, there's no doubt. And as far as how it's going really well. I'll be honest with you, Rick, it feels like I've been here 20 years. I think some of that has to do with a little bit of me knowing the history of that rival you spoke about. Very familiar with each other and so on, and I think the people in here in the school building and just in general have just been outstanding. The community and what I've been able to meet, and this is a situation. I'll be honest with you that I was probably my career needed a shot in the arm. You get into those points, a change of scenery, whatever you people want to call them. But it was time. I don't know. I felt very led, and I prayed about it for a long time. And I'd actually thought about making some changes or move several years ago, and it just became an opportunity at a time and that I'd prayed for, that I felt like opened up, and I feel very blessed to have this opportunity to be at such a fine high school and a tremendous athletic program.
I've said this in the past. When you took the job at South Caldwell, and we're going to learn a little bit about you, but while this is on my mind, I want to mention this. When you took the program at South Caldwell, I think it's fair to say that it was sort of at the bottom rung. They weren't a consistent winner in football. You were there 15 years, and wow, what a record. Since I pulled this up, since 2000, your teams went 57-9.
Right.
That's impressive. How did you do it?
Well, I really believe it was a lot of attitude and effort. There's no doubt, and the longevity. Speaking being somewhere, I'm very proud of that. I think it's unusual for this day and time in coaching, even in the high school ranks. You see it a lot in the professional and the college, but even in high school now, Rick, it's you don't see a lot of longevity. So I'm very proud of the fact to be able to sustain that type of longevity. I really believe is being able to put a good staff together and having a philosophy that's going to help and promote good athleticism for these players to have success each and every year. And I'll tell you the approach that we're wanting to take right now, that kind of on those lines. To that is when I stepped into the South Caldwell job 15 years ago, I'd been there as assistant coach for a while, went to Lenore Ryan for a while, so I kind of knew which hammer I needed to bring into that job. I'm taking a little approach here in this, and I feel really good about it after being here for a week or so on. I feel very comfortable that I'm going to take a week or two to evaluate. I need to see where these young men, where this coaching staff, I want to know where they're at as a football program, as a weight program. So I'm going to do an extensive evaluation period. In doing that, in terms, I hope I'll know which hammer I need to grab for this type of job. But I think there's some tremendous stuff in place here. I think there's some unbelievable foundation to this program and athletic department as well. But to answer your question, I think it wasn't just because I was a head football coach there or anything like it. I think it was a we thing. And I think there's a lot of people pulling that rope. But the big thing, those young men bought into it, and we figured out year in and year out what we could do to be successful and give those guys opportunities to win.
Let's learn a little bit about Butch Carter. Now, you were a South Caldwell guy, right? You grew up in that community.
Yeah. That's right.
Tell us a little bit about your upbringings and what brought you here.
Well, I'm a self-made person. My mother and father was not in the athletic or education field. It's something that I was always involved with from growing up. And my kindergarten teacher actually told a story that my first day of kindergarten, I was crying to the teacher that she had to teach me how to read. Well, I'm sure my mother told me that if I didn't go to school and learn how to read, they weren't going to let me play football. So I went to the teacher and told her, you got to teach me how to read because I can play football day one of my education. So that was something that, I've really had a desire for even from a young age. And I've been very supportive. I have a wonderful family. They've supported me in every endeavor. So I ended up playing youth football and so on and so forth in the Caldwell County ranks, and went to high school at South Caldwell High School, and went through a couple head coaches myself. And I've even used those experiences in this change. How do these boys want to be treated with a new head coach? And I try to take on every avenue. How would I want to be treated? Because I remember being in those shoes. So I'm doing a great evaluation of that. But anyway, I was graduated in 1989 at South Caldwell High School, played running back and outside linebacker, and it was a great experience. We had some hard times, but I think I learned a lot in those times, and I think it even taught me where I thought that program was at and what needed to happen even back then. So I went to Lees McRae College and played college football at Lees McRae, right? And that transition, they went from junior college to 4-year, and then ended up losing their football program prior to departing there.
Beautiful little campus up there at Lees McRae.
Yes, it was wonderful. Nice, small class setting. So I was able to do that. Then we were able to come back to Caldwell County, and Dan Hardy hired me on as an assistant coach, and I served as assistant coach for several years there, and had an opportunity to go to Lenoir-Rhyne University and coach defensive line under Coach Bill Hart. Served a couple years there. Then Dan Hardy left South Caldwell High School and had an opportunity to go back there and be the head football coach, and I was able to hold that step for 15 years.
We're talking with Butch Carter, the new football coach at Alexander Central. Coach, I thought about a lot of things when I learned that you were the new football coach at Alexander Central. Number one, I was very elated. I feel like we were in a position that we had a lot of really good candidates. We could go in a number of different directions, and I felt like, truthfully, we couldn't go wrong. And I talked with Principal Doug Roney, and I don't think he minds me saying this. He was part of the search committee that did the interviews. And he said, we had a lot of good candidates, and we were sort of at impasse. There was a lot of discussion going on amongst the committee members. And he said, here's what I would like for you to do. I want you to write down your top choice. And I'm just going to review it and see where we are. And every member of that committee had Butch Carter as their top choice. And I find that to be very intriguing because there were a lot of excellent choices to become the new head football coach here at Alexander Central. I think that says a lot, and here's why I mention that, because all of the coaches that I have been involved with here at Alexander Central, going back to Gene Price and Chris Deal and forward to Tom Harper and Nick Basil, they all talked glowingly, respectfully about the job you did there. Recognition by your peers, that's the best type of flattery.
It's probably one of the biggest compliments you can have in your profession, no matter what your profession is, and to be able to have those type of compliments, and that is a tremendous feeling of pride and definitely respect for those people as well that made all those comments. But that is that makes you feel extremely well. Makes me very proud, and what we were able to accomplish. And I say we as a staff and so on, and as a person as well. But I have a tremendous amount of respect for everyone you mentioned in that statement.
Coach Basil. And he was such a wonderful man and such a wonderful football coach. I joked with him, but it really wasn't a joke. I felt like that he was unlucky, and there is such a thing as luck, I believe.
Absolutely.
Injuries played such an unbelievable role.
Absolutely.
With this program the last couple years. It compromised what we could have been. There's really no way to coach to prevent injuries, is there?
Can't do it, and you can't. The only thing we can do is control what we can control. As a coaches or human beings or so on and so forth in your life. And definitely you can't control the weather, and you definitely cannot control injuries in football. There's no doubt about that.
You mentioned weather, and I got to do this.
Right.
Last fall, one of the strangest football games I've ever been involved in.
Probably myself as well.
We're right here at Cougar Stadium.
It was.
Early in the season. horrible lightning storm. I think we run one series, South Caldwell scores, and before we can you can even kick off back to the Cougars, lightning shows up.
Right.
2.5 hour delay. We end up playing the game. You win by a touchdown. We were driving maybe to tie or win the game. I got my car at 1 a.m. after we did the post-game show on the radio. It's the strangest high school football game. 1 a.m. Saturday mornings when I got in my car to go home.
It was, Rick. It was strange, and it started out. That game started out. It was a beautiful setting before the game, and the conditions were wonderful. And that thunderstorm moved in, and it stayed in. Yeah. And I think Coach Basil, myself, we were here, wanted to get it done because you know how it is once you get behind in your football schedule and you got JV, and it felt like the whole season was behind that way. We had run into a lot of weather problems early in the year, but that was a very, very unusual football game. Hopefully we don't ever have to worry about that anymore.
Let's talk a little specifics. And I don't know how much film you've seen of the Cougars, but you're familiar with us.
Right.
You take a look at the numbers from last year. We set a school record. We scored 33 points a game. We were prolific. Defensively, though, without question, it just didn't work out. I don't think it was scheming. I think it was a combination of injuries and going up against some very prolific offenses, I might add. But we gave up 41 points a game, and I found it intriguing. One of the first things I found out when you were hired is Butch Carter is going to be the defensive coordinator. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, that the defense, what I have and what I know of, experience and so on and so forth, wise with Alexander Central, it is not a scheme problem whatsoever, a schematic of scheme of anything like that. I think a lot of it has to do with some injury problems that happened, but what I've watched and evaluated so far, it doesn't seem like a scheme problem whatsoever. Maybe some youth here or there, a little bit of injury problems here and there, and I know that very well because in 2013 I lost one of the best running backs on the third play of the first football game of the year.
One of the best running backs I ever seen, Zach Paul.
So I understand that. I know that, and I really understand it. But just evaluating, it's not the scheme problem. As far as the defensive coordinator, I think it's become a number one priority is what I want to do here. The offense probably set a school record for scoring this year. Is that if it's not broke, don't fix it mentality. Well, I kind of pride myself in being a smart guy and I've been around for a while. And what we want to do defensively is I want to be the head coach. I do plan on being involved on both sides of football, but I think we got some good coaches here already on staff, and we're going to evaluate those guys and make sure. I think we got some good offensive schemes already here, and what we want to do. I know I'm talking a little bit of offense, but it's going to get to my question as far as defense. I don't want to be a coach that's just going to bring an offense over from here or he's just his style. What I want to do is put an offensive staff together. We're going to lock ourselves in a room. We're going to build an Alexander Central offense with the experiences that I've had. Other coaches on staff, Matt Wilson's an excellent offensive coach here as well. And we're going to lock ourselves down and we're going to build an Alexander Central offense. Defensively has become a point of emphasis for me and the special teams in the kicking game. So, yes, I probably will move that to the top as my priority. I think got to prioritize things. The whole team's a priority, but I think offensively there's some good things in place, but we definitely, maybe in that statement, I plan on being strongly involved. I would like to have a defensive coordinator at some point in time, but my point of emphasis will be strongly on that side. But I think the head coach has to be involved on both sides of the football. I think his team needs to know who the head coach is, but my presence will be strongly felt on the defensive side of the football.
This is my personal opinion. I think one of the things that has compromised our ability to compete against some of the better teams that we face is for the last several years we just haven't been as physical as what Alexander Central sort of built a reputation over the years. You may beat us, but you're going to be awfully tired when the game's over, and you're going to be sore because we were pretty physical and we played very aggressively on defense. I think it starts, there's a room just a door away from us over here in that weight room, and I don't think that the average fan on the street understands how crucially important it is to be strong and fit.
Well, Rick, you know, and you have mentioned some of my past and where I come from and what we were able to do. And if anybody asks me in the streets, call me on the phone, I'll tell you right now that is exactly the reason we were able to do what we were able to do in our past and where I come from. And that was our heartbeat, was that weight room. That's where we built the camaraderie, the hard work, the sweat. And it was when you are in the fourth quarter and it's a tough game and you're ahead by 7 or down by 7, that weight room and the ability of what we've been able to accomplish in there is going to make the difference. You know, you can draw up any X's and O's you want, any defensive schemes you want, but I'll take the weight room and what it brings to a football program over anything that's accomplished in the whole tenure of time that you're trying to do it.
I watched your kids get off the bus. They were cut.
Yeah.
They were strong.
Take a lot of pride in that weight room.
Well, that's obviously going to be I know that you bring a passion for that.
I do.
And, you know, we all would like to see Alexander Central get back to being a very physical football team. Football's a physical game.
It is, Rick. And I'll tell you one thing, though, that really just come to my mind that I think changes it. It's an attitude and an effort that you build in there. You know, here's a saying that I want to say, and Marv Levy said it from Buffalo Bills years ago, and it really stuck, and I've used it, and I'm going to use it, continue using it. But when it's too tough for them, it's just right for us. And that's going to be a sign that's going to be in our weight room, and that's the mindset that we're going to have. Because when it's too tough for them, it's going to be just right for us. And that's the type of mentality we want to get back to, that gold standard.
Let's talk a little bit about offense. You have made the decision that Matt Wilson is going to stay as offensive coordinator,
Right.
and he is a young, up-and-coming coach. I think at one time he is going to be a head coach. I don't think there's much doubt about that. He's sort of a mad scientist on offense, really. He sort of intrigues me, very enthusiastic.
A lot of passion for the game.
When we're doing the game, if he's in the booth next to us, you're going to hear it.
Right.
It's that simple.
That's good.
Good decision, I think, to keep Matt as offensive coordinator.
I think so. He and I have really hit it off. We have a lot of the same visions and goals, and just a tremendous young man. And I know I'm going to have to lean on him some. And he knows the program here, and he's been with the kids for a long time, which is a good start for me as well. And I can't say enough good things about Matt Wilson, and I think I love his energy and enthusiasm to want to work. And I always say this, that win stands for what's important now, and definitely winning is important to him because he shows the work early. He wants to look at film, he wants to do things, and just a tremendous young man, and I value his friendship very strongly. He and I have made a great connection right out of the gate.
We're talking with Butch Carter, the new head football coach at Alexander Central. Coach, right here between us, there's something that I want to mention. And you and I talked a week or so ago, and when I saw the photograph of you in the Taylorsville Times, you were holding that gold Alexander Central helmet. Now, years ago we wore the blue helmets, but to me the tradition of Alexander Central football was that gold helmet, and you said you're bringing it back.
Yes, that's something we want to do. I mean, what I know and remember Alexander from when I played, we played in the conference when I was a player against them, and years of coaching against them. Just knowing the tradition of high school football in this area, it just one of the first things I think it's a beautiful tradition here, and I think it's something that is valued very strongly in the community here, and I just think it's a part. When I think of Alexander Central High School, that's what I think of, is that gold helmet, and we want to take pride in it. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I do like the gold helmet, and I said that from day one, from the beginning. Obviously, I really believe it's the players' team, these seniors and these players. They put the hard work in, and I definitely want to input from them on what they like. They're going to be wearing them, but ultimately, I'm going to probably make the decision. And I'll just be honest with you, I really do like the gold.
Well, I think that most fans in the community will be happy to see that come back. There's another tradition here at Alexander Central that is controversial in some circles. The kids have gotten used to running onto the field behind the motorcycles on Friday night. Kind of revs them up.
It revs them up, and I remember being on that other sideline with them coming out. It revved us up too. We kind of liked it. So I think it's just really an excitement, to that. It's a boy, those motorcycles coming around, and us as a visiting team, it kind of woke us up. If I knew when we played over here that when those motorcycles come out, they were either going to wake up or get scared or go home or do something. But one way or another, something was going to happen. But it is a tradition here, and I think you need to be prideful in your traditions and what you do and what you accomplish. And I think it's a community that takes pride in it. And I think it's a good thing.
I don't want to bang on this too hard, but it's a big hot button topic right now. The physicality of football. We touched on it a little bit.
Sure.
Some parents are deciding that maybe football is not the sport for their son to participate in. That's their decision. They're parents. But I think that when football is coached the way it should be coached, and we've been so fortunate here to have good football coaches, it's a game that you would want your son to play. I just feel like that there's a lot of negativity in the press. There's a lot more media now. You learn more about the injuries. That's true. But let's face it, players are getting bigger. They're getting more physical, and the game is so much faster. But I just believe that it is a game that has so much merit and teaches you so much about life. Yes, it's physical, but you know what? Life is physical too.
Yes. Yeah. There's always going to be ups and downs, turns, and your back against the wall, and you got to pull yourself up. And I think football teaches you so many values in life. As far as I just know, speaking me as a player, coach, so on and so forth, that when you it just teaches you to be tough, roll your sleeves up, go to work, and blue collar mentality, and that's kind of the approach I like to bring to my football team. But players have become bigger, faster, and stronger. If you just look at the numbers as far as NFL and the college, even high school, linemen in the 1970s compared to now is size and weight and differences in speed, and but the equipment has changed as well. I mean, so I'd like to be able to wear some of these helmets, coming through as well. So, and that in turn also allows players to play faster and quicker and a little bit stronger. So I think that comes down to us as coaches being able to teach the proper techniques of tackling and blocking, and the heads up program is really huge, and eliminating concussions and injuries. And we can't control those, like we mentioned earlier. We're not going to be able to control injuries and weather and certain things. We need to focus on what we can control. But I think what we got to do is make a conscious effort of teaching the proper techniques and keeping the head out of tackles and targeting players as kind of happened. But make no doubt, there's nothing warm and fuzzy on the football field. But I think the hard work and the dedication and rolling your sleeves up and going into the weight room and being accountable and waking up early and working hard is things that really teach you some wonderful value lessons in life that I know I've leaned on in my life, and probably have several other players walking around each and every day that think back, football taught me a lot. And I think it's some great values you can learn in the game of football, there's no doubt.
You came from South Caldwell, and let's face it, South Caldwell, the reputation across the state, it's a baseball school.
Right.
Madison Bumgarner went to school there.
That's right.
Watched him play. He was unbelievable.
Right.
The perception across the state is Alexander Central is a softball school. Monty Sherrill built a monster here. Darrell Adkins is going to take over for him. But you know what? I think that can be a positive in a lot of ways. Schools have reputations. Shelby is a football school.
Right.
But they play other sports. And Alexander Central has had rather checkered success in football. They've had some good years. They've had some years where they struggled. With a coaching change now. And I just feel like that you might be stepping into this situation at a really good time.
Well, and again, going back to knowing a lot of the coaches that were here in place, me being the 7th head coach, I believe is correct.
I think that's right.
In school history. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Baswell, Coach Harper, Coach Deal, Coach Price. A lot of these guys I know, and you said they've made some nice comments and so on, and the feeling is mutual back to them. We're kind of a fraternity, and we,
Sure.
as far as the coaching, and yes, I think there's some wonderful foundation at Alexander Central High School as far as an athletic program, but even as a football program, it's and that's why I wanted to take a couple weeks and I wanted to see exactly where these football players were at in the weight room, their attitude and effort, just in the hallways, and just them in general. I didn't want to be a coach that come in here and kick doors down and swinging a big hammer. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. I'm not that way, and I don't need to be that way. I want to see where these young men are at and where they're at in the football program, and then we're going to make them better. That's my approach, and it's not that we're going to run a certain offense or a certain defense. We're going to put the best offense and best defense and best weight program together for these young men to be successful. It's not about Butch Carter or his coaching staff. I want it to be a we thing. I want it to be a community thing. I want it to be a pride. So that's just my general philosophy, and that's what I've taken from day one in here and approach. And I want to take some lessons I've learned to being a head football coach for 15 years and being fortunate to be in the game, and I want to learn from those and start over. And we're not bringing nothing from South or here or there. But yes, this is a softball school, and here's what it tells me as a coach. When you have schools that are traditionally known for certain things,
Mm-hmm.
well, that tells me that traditionally we can be known for this thing. We just got to continue to build it and get to that point. So that tells me that the community, number one, when you have strong communities, you have strong programs such as softball or baseball, supportive and so on. So it tells me that that groundwork's in place. It's just us as coaches now and players now to continue to build and to win championships and do the best that we can be. But I definitely know that the potential is definitely here for us to be a strong, very strong football program year in and year out.
Tell us a little bit about what you told the young men. I know you've met with them as a group, in many cases individually.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what you told them.
Well, and I'm going to tell you exactly the first words I wanted them to hear out of my mouth was, we're going to win, and we're going to win right now. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Butch. That has nothing to do with him. That statement has nothing to do with any coach that's ever been here in the past. That's a statement of my attitude and my effort as Butch Carter. I wanted the first words that they heard from me as their football coaches, we're going to win, and we're going to win right now. Now, there's a lot of victories you don't see that's on the scoreboard either. Young men, what we just talked about in life, some things that we can gather as human beings and some qualities that we can gain from athletics in general. So when I say that we're going to win and we're going to win right now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's on the scoreboard or anywhere else. It's going to be as far as you as a human being, as an attitude, your efforts you take in winning every day. Being the best football player that you can be, best student that you can be, best coach that you can be. And I did tell this, I promise. There's only a few things I can control. I can control my attitude and effort, and I can promise them, without a shadow of a doubt, there will not be one coach that we go against I'm going to let outwork me. I don't have to sleep very much. I'll stay up and do whatever I need to do. But win stands for what's important now, and we're going to make it very important. And I believe that's the way this community feels. I know it's how the school feels and the athletic department here at Alexander Central High School. So that's my goal. And I think when my attitude and effort will show, and that's when everybody else will change, as being the leader of the football program as a head football coach. But I told them this, Rick. I told them that we would relentlessly chase perfection, knowing that there was only one that ever walked this earth that was perfect, as our Lord and Savior. So, in terms of doing that, we will achieve greatness, but we're going to relentlessly chase perfection. Anything that we put our name on, we want it to be the best it can be.
Vince Lombardi.
Vince Lombardi.
Coach, I know that you are a very passionate man, and I spoke on the radio the other day I had met you before, shaking your hand before a game, seen you at some games. But when you and I talked about a week ago, and I told people, I said, the only thing I can compare his enthusiasm to is a child at Christmas. He just seems
That's
like
right.
he's awfully happy
Yes.
to be in Taylorsville.
You couldn't make a truer statement. That was extremely true.
Well, I think the community is going to get behind you. But let's face it, Taylorsville's like Hudson and Granite Falls and Sawmills, and it's like Shelby, it's like Wilkesboro, it's like Mooresville, it's like Morganton, it's like Hickory. They want to win.
Right.
And I think this community is so hungry for winning football games on Friday night. And I know that you are very passionate about that. And I really feel like one of the reasons that you're sitting here with me today is you've coached Alexander Central before. South Caldwell and Alexander Central are so similar in the demographics.
Very mirror image, right?
They really are.
They are.
And I really think that had something to do with you ending up where you are today.
Well, I feel like I've been here 20 years. Just the people, the attitude, the effort, just the way they make me feel at home. It's a very mirror image, obviously. But again, I made this statement in the paper, and you probably heard it. I feel like the good Lord put eyes in front of our head for a reason. He wants to see where we're going, not where we've been. We can learn from our history. That's what's behind us. But we're going to continue moving forward. Yes, I respect the fact what we accomplished at South Caldwell High School, but I'm ready for this new chapter, and I want to take all that experience and build the best football program I can here. I feel like that's what I'm strongly led to do. And the statement that you made, like a child at Christmas, I don't think there's been a better statement made as correct as on how I feel is that one. As I'm excited, just overjoyed with excitement and dedication to wanting to make this the best football program possible.
Well, I know that you have circled the date when Alexander Central travels to South Caldwell. And let's face it, the heart will be beating a little faster that night without question. But we've got a very difficult conference that we play in. Don't know where we're going to end up in realignment, but we've got some whispers of where we might be. But when you take a look at the North Piedmont Conference, superbly athletic. You've got Mooresville and South Iredell and Statesville and Lake Norman. I mean, these teams put terrific athletes on the field. I know you know that.
That's right.
It's not easy.
No, and I think all we can do is prepare ourselves week to week and take care of what's in front of us and try to get better each week and make ourselves a better football team each week. And what I wanted them to hear was true. I want to win. I expect to win. I expect to win right now. Now, does that mean exactly on the field? I think with that type of attitude and effort, it will continue to carry on the field and to the scoreboard in time. But that means from the weight room to the classroom to being in town as a person, so on and so forth. And I think when you do all that and you learn how to work together, then when you're down 7 points in the fourth quarter, that's going to make the difference in having that attitude and effort. So we understand the talent in this conference and the speed, and these guys are used to it. They've been there for a while, and they played against them. And so what we got to do is give these players the best opportunity to be successful and win football games each and every week.
Well, I'm ready. He's Butch Carter. I'm Rick Gilbert. Those gold helmets will run out on the field in August. Go Cougars.